Here's two truths about distraction. First one is simply distraction is a choice. And the second one builds on the first one, and it's this. Once you're wired for distraction, you actually crave it. Welcome back to the Permission Slip podcast. Today, I am talking to you about the truth about distraction. I'm conscious to crave distraction. Okay, so let's just dive into the three things. And where did this come from? I started getting really obsessed last year in about July when I took my sabbatical to Tulum to write my book. And I started getting really obsessed with focus and flow state and distraction and listening. And I really went all in. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that later in the podcast. But these three things that I'm going to share with you are the three things that I found during that time of sort of isolation and solitude and just being were the biggest things that would pull me out of my flow state, pull me out of focus, and put me back into a repetitive cycle of thoughts, health, and my opportunity to thrive and to have a strong and beautiful body. It really sets the stage for the day of positive thinking. Okay, so the second part to the National Science Foundation study of around thoughts is this. So if 95% of our thoughts are repetitive, unfortunately, because most of us are operating on autopilot each day and just getting on the treadmill of life and not being super self-aware, and we've become addicted to the distraction because it helps us cope with things that we don't want to necessarily face or do. So here's the question. What thoughts are captive in my mind? So when you start your day, or maybe just right now, write it down. Get out a note on your phone or your journal. I know I'm going to talk about your phone next, but it can be a wonderful tool if you use it as it's meant to be used. So get out a note, write that down. What thoughts are captive in my mind? That everything was planned in advance. So the only work things that I was showing up to was a couple of coaching calls that we were doing within our academy and with my one-on-one executive clients. Those were the things I was showing up to. But other than that, I was completely disconnected from email, from social media. Normally, I'm the one that answers all of my DMs, and I love to engage and connect with people on social media. But during this month's time, my team was doing that for me, which I was so grateful. It's been over 6 months removed from this experiment and this time that I had. My phone's back with me again. It wasn't something that stuck because I didn't make a plan for that, and I didn't prepare for that. So now that I'm sharing this podcast with you, I want to share with you a little bit about like how to become aware of how you're using your phone. Now, I know that you could say, I need to use it for work, I needed this, I need that. But you can also set aside time when you are going to use your phone. And what I mean by that is, let's say you plan for your day that you're going to work on a big project. Well, your phone is nowhere near you for that project. And so what I want you to do, I'm uncertain how to do it on Android, but I'm sure you could just Google it. But if you have an iPhone, I want you to go to your settings, and then I want you to go down a little bit to screen time. So on screen time, I want you to look at your screen time. And we're not getting the restoration that we need. And because we're not getting the restoration that we need, it dulls our creativity, our energy, our enthusiasm, our aliveness, our inspiration. And then we can't even show up to be inspiration to our teams, to be inspirations for our families, for our friends, how we want to show up. And we wonder why all the things that we want, then we start to convince ourselves of that. Then we start making busyness being crucial to doing a great job. And busyness is not actually the thing that's going to move the needle in your business or your life. To to start preparing. And let me just give you an example of what I mean by this. So let's say you're sitting down and you're set out to work in your office or maybe your home office or wherever it is. You're going to work on a project for 2 hours. So you've set aside 2 hours to work. Yes, these are the fun projects, the needle moving projects. In the upper left square is going to be your urgent and important tasks, the things that people think are fire drills that maybe are not necessarily fire drills. And then on the bottom left, you have your not important and urgent tasks, which are the things that you want to delegate or ask for help on. And then on the very bottom right, you have your non-urgent actually need to be done, because sometimes we just have these repetitive thoughts and we're doing habitual behaviors and activities, but they're not actually things that need to be done. So you cross off the things that don't actually need to be done. And then you move on to the next thing. This week doesn't need to be done this week. Too. So you can use that Eisenhower matrix that I described, and you can then put them in the categories and you can start scheduling your work. I always suggest to put like energy work together and to not have too many transitions that you have to do during your day, or it's going to cause distraction. So what do I mean by that? This is available. We want to see you. But one of the things that I'm doing is a lot of collaboration calls. And so I found that it's very challenging for me to do thought leadership work, writing, and intense creating if throughout the day I have random collaboration calls. Now, both of those pieces are essential to the business and the work that I'm doing. So instead, I decided I'm only doing calls on Tuesday and Thursday, and that includes any consultations with corporations. That includes any chats with possible one-on-one clients upcoming, or any collaborations for the conference. That only happens on Tuesday and Thursday. So that's giving me space available on the other days in order to do the deep work, to do certain activities and start planning it out. Instead of saying, okay, I'm going to work today, and you don't have anything planned out. What if your week was planned out based on your priorities and based on the energy and the tasks that you had available? How different would that be for you? And what if you started actually letting go, decluttering, and deleting some of the things that didn't really need to be done and asking for help? And everything was planned out. So when you sit down for your 2-hour time block, you know that you're going to plan and record a podcast, you're going to upload it, and you're going to create the leader guide. This is what I'm doing right now during my time block and time with you. I'm going to create the leader guide in a Word document so that my team can get everything all set for the podcast to go out. And then I'm going to be done. And I don't have to go back to busyness and think I need to do more and more and more and more, because today this is what I had planned during this time block. Because if you're always putting your body into that busyness just because you think you need to, it's going to be a distraction from the other things, from your personal goals, from your hobbies, from your family, from your friends. So you don't always have to be doing to validate your worth. Okay, so let's rewind a little bit here and go back to our two truths. Truth number one, distraction is a choice. And truth number two is fed right off of number one, is once you're wired for distraction, you crave it. And then you can be flexible and you can have psychological flexibility and you can just adjust. The other thing I want you to think about planning going forward is thinking time, creative thinking time, planning and preparation time. You actually have to plan your time to think about your time. I know it sounds redundant, but it's so important. We're going to turn that into starting things and then freaking finishing them. We're not going to have 10 things on our to-do list and do half of 2. And so the next day you still have 10. We're going to get things done. That you can easily do, that I do, that my clients do, that we teach in our coaching academy, then you have to join this masterclass. It is totally free and I cannot wait to see you there. So there is a link in the show notes to sign up, or you could just simply text me and I'll text you back the link to sign up with us. You can text me the word focus to 503-386-2981. And I can't wait to share with you all of my juicy nuggets and secrets to access flow state and access focus and finally let go of the need to crave so much distraction in our life